This is Richard Laidler, Executive Consultant with Ambit Energy. Last night on the 13th of January 2016, we had our usual weekly Wednesday night team call, but this time with a very special guest, Executive Consultant John West. John shared with us some absolutely remarkable economic statistics that every Ambit consultant should know, and especially about how Ambit is a shining light in the darkness of today's struggling economy. This is an absolutely great call, so sit back, open your coachable ears, and enjoy. Someone very special on the call tonight. A very good friend of mine. We've become very good friends over the years, and it's lovely to know him. He's a lovely chap, but also he's been in the business for a couple of years longer than me, so I get the opportunity to learn from someone else. And this particular gentleman is probably one of the best speakers and trainers I've heard. He's, again, when you're in the business for 8 years, you get to see everything, good, bad, and indifferent. You get war-torn, you get victories, and you get everything in between. So he has really good, valuable information. I know tonight the information he's going to share is not something you'll expect to usually hear. You know, there's always something on the invite or something on your why or something on how to do the presentation, this type of thing. But we want to give variety on these calls so that we get really good value and not hearing the same information over and over again. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but let him tell you about what we're going to talk about. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce, as I say, an extremely good friend of mine first. That's the most important thing. But also an 8-year veteran EC in the Ambit business. I'd like everybody to welcome EC John West on the call. John, are you there?
I am, Richard. Wow, you're making me blush.
Hey, you know what? Funny. I was picturing you running across the field chasing your dog. For those of you who weren't on the call, John was saying before the call started that he's just walking the dog. He just got back from church and was walking the dog. And I'm just picturing you chasing after the dog, trying to give this training. Anyway, what you need to do.
Well, you will be proud because I made it in time to drink, to prepare my cup of tea. Hang on just a minute. I got peppermint herbal tea tonight. It's very good. Guys, we are so blessed. We are so blessed to work with a guy like Richard. You bring a lot of energy and wisdom, but also a lot of culture to the Ambit world. And so I admire you, sir, and I appreciate this opportunity. So, Hey, guys, good evening. I don't know who else on the call. I know we've got a number of people from different teams and some guests. So if this is your first time on the Ambit call, I want to welcome you, and maybe this will give you a little bit of a flavor of the opportunity that is before us. And my point tonight, and I'll come back to this in just a few minutes, is that we need to recognize what we have. We have something that people need, and they need it as never before. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, I actually have two careers. Those of you that know me know that I still have one boss left. I've already fired one because of my Ambit business, and I am in the process of working to fire my second boss and do Ambit full-time. But part of my work as I go around during the daytime, in my daytime career, I do a lot of driving, and I check on medical clients all over North Texas, and we help with different medical equipment. But I listen to a lot of the news, so I'm very much in touch with what's going on politically and a lot of the statistics. And I just want to share a couple of brief points with you that you might be able to use when building your Ambit business. Some recent statistics which are quite startling, and I took the time, and Richard knows this, to verify these before sharing tonight. A couple of thoughts, and the point of this is that the average American family is seriously struggling financially. And so this is the perfect opportunity because Ambit has never looked better. A lot of people are desperate and they need to do something. The data is stunning. There's no question. Things have not gotten better in the last 7 years and beyond. If you even want to call what we're experiencing in America today a recovery, it is the slowest and the weakest recovery ever. And I'm just going to offer three simple facts that are easily documentable. Median income in America has fallen to a 20-year low. In other words, everything costs more for most Americans, but their income for most families is exactly what it was in 1995. That's 20 years ago. You add to that the average cost of family health care has gone up about 40%. Where it leaves the American family today is that most families are about $2,000 to $3,000 poorer per year than they were even a year or two ago. In my own case, my son lost his primary care physician, and my health care costs went up 40%. That's just me. Your experience may be different, but median income falls to a 20-year low. That's a fact. Number two, the number of Americans, now listen to this, receiving food stamps is at an all-time high. It's doubled in 7 years, and it's rising as reported by Food World News in November. The figures are becoming unprecedented. 1 in 5 Americans, that's 46 million Americans surveyed, indicate that in the last year they struggled to afford food for their families. That's from Gallup and from Breitbart. And number 3, the record number of Americans that are no longer in the labor force. In other words, the unemployment rate is much higher than we are being led to believe. There are 93 million Americans not in the labor force, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. People have either stopped looking for work or they're grossly underemployed, and there's a reluctance of companies to take on new employees because of higher regulations, new medical insurance laws, and it's making it harder for businesses to succeed. And so a lot of major corporations are moving overseas. In short, it's a perfect storm of economic stagnation. And so economically, a lot of folks are in trouble. So what does this have to do with Ambit? Well, you may know this. You may have heard this before, but Warren Buffett is reported to have said that in economic times, as always, wealth is never created or destroyed. It merely changes hands. You may have heard that before. Wealth is neither created nor destroyed. It merely changes hands. And here's what I mean by that. Despite the American business struggling, despite the economy stuff, despite the layoffs, the outsourcing, the changes in healthcare, despite all of that, shines a beacon called Ambit Energy in a recession, but Ambit is recession-proof. Ambit is rocking. In fact, not only is Ambit surviving, we're moving up in chart after chart and report after report. Not even a week ago, I saw the data that Ambit is now ranked number 7, the 7th largest multi-level marketing company in the United States. You think about that. We're the only, I had forgotten this statistic. I love statistics, as you can tell. But I'd forgotten this statistic. You know, we all see the Inc. 500 report. If you're not familiar with it in the Ambit business presentation, Ambit in 2010, in our third year of business, was ranked the number 1 fastest growing privately held company in America. That's in all of America. Now, here's what I didn't know, that we're the only multi-level marketing company that's ever done that in history. We're the only one. Now, you think about that. In that kind of an economic background, Ambit had that kind of success. We're number 12 in the world. So I'm looking at all this, and I'm just, pondering and driving around doing my job, and I'm thinking, this explains 2 things for me. It explains why a lot of folks are discouraged. There's a general feeling of malaise and frustration and negativity in America today. You see it in the polls. You see it in the presidential debates. A lot of Americans are very afraid. I sense it because I've been in Ambit long enough that I can tell you that when Ambit started, or I wasn't there right in the beginning, but 8 years ago, it didn't seem like this. It didn't seem like this at all. So there seems to be a shift in a lot of people's attitudes and their feelings and their confidence in trying new things. Now, why do I mention this? Because I'm persuaded that our economy helps to explain why a lot of folks may say no, and it also may explain why some consultants get discouraged and quit. But I'm here to tell you that as dark as at times as it may seem in our economy, I am not one, I don't want to come across as gloom and doom. Remember that quote by Warren Buffett. Wealth never is not created or destroyed. It merely changes hands. Ambit is, if it ever was even a good opportunity, it's a great opportunity. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that Ambit, for the average American, may be the best opportunity. I'm persuaded it is the best opportunity that we will ever see in our lifetimes. Jerry Thompson had pointed out in one of the Ambit training videos that the deregulation of America's electric grid is the last and largest industry to deregulate. And in deregulation, as you know, it not only gives consumers an opportunity to choose, but if you view it from an economic standpoint, it's basically just money's changing hands. It's going from the monopolies to the companies and the representatives of those companies that have the foresight to seize the opportunity and see where they're at. And those that get the lion's share of the new clients are going to make the most income. So that's what I see with Ambit. That's probably why you've heard me quote one of the Ambit Yellow Jacket millionaires, Regina Gale. She loves to say that she says that we are the chosen generation. We are the children with the promised land in front of us. And, you know, coming from a Bible background, I like to relate things to Bible stories, but I like that. We have an opportunity that our parents and grandparents never had. What's happening with deregulation has never happened before, and it's never going to happen again, and it's happening right now. I mean, let that sink down in your ears. So while all this other stuff is going on, we have a way to escape from living paycheck to paycheck. That came out of one of the statistics. In fact, one of the presidential candidates pointed out that right now in America, 65% of American families are one paycheck away from serious trouble. Most survey could not even afford $500 if Johnny broke a bone or had to go in an emergency room. 65%. That explains to me why a lot of folks are kind of negative, why a lot of folks are hesitant, why a lot of folks are fearful. But as as the Lord said to Moses, let my people go. Isn't it interesting, those of you that may remember the story of Moses in the Bible, when he first approached Pharaoh, you know, there was some setback. When he first approached the Jewish leaders about, God, you know, we have this opportunity to be set free, to use an analogy from the Bible. At first, everyone was really excited. Yeah, they wanted to do this. And then some difficulty set in. And the verse that jumped out at me, Exodus 6, verse 9, it says, Moses spake unto the children of Israel that they hearkened not unto him for anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage. They were discouraged. And that verse just kind of stuck in my head. We're working through Exodus, as you can tell, at my church. And so I've been thinking about the old Bible story. And I just thought, you know, nothing's changed. A lot of folks, they go through hard times and people get discouraged and people get they're disappointed at the outcome. It's not what they expected, or it's harder than they thought it would be. But as then, so it is now. We have an opportunity to do something which has never been done before. Again, it will never happen again. We can completely turn around our life circumstances. As folks were set free from the bondage of slavery centuries ago, today people can be set free economically from the bondage of debt and from the bondage of hopelessness. One of the Yellow Jacket leaders in Ambit made a comment that stuck in my head one day. He just said that, you know, he doesn't even care who gets elected president because for the most part, he may rethink that if some of the left-leaning folks get elected, but that's another story. But at least thus far, it doesn't really impact his life. He has a cushion of protection. He lives well. And so wouldn't it be nice to not only rise above a lot of the negativity in our culture, but help other people rise above the despair and the negativity that is in our culture? There are a lot of good folks that I know that are struggling, and a lot of folks that are hurting. I know folks that have lost their jobs. I know people that are looking for work. Just today, I have a friend who actually is a leader. He's one of the senior administrators in 7-Eleven. And I learned just today that 7-Eleven is cutting 700 jobs. I learned earlier today that Macy's is laying off thousands and thousands of American workers. There's a lot of this going on. Folks are, for different reasons, but people are afraid. So again, I come back to where I started. We need to recognize not only what's going on in our culture, but that we have something that people need, perhaps as never before. I don't think I've ever in my lifetime seen the kind of economic conditions going on in our country today, and I'm concerned like everyone else, and I will be voting in November. I encourage you all to vote too. Now, that being said, there's something we can do about our own circumstances financially, and there's also something that we can do to help other people, to break out of living paycheck to paycheck, to build an emergency fund, all the things we see at the beginning of the Ambit business presentation, and not just to take care of our own needs, but here's something, do Ambit to help others as well. Maybe to have some extra to share to help neighbors and friends who are hurting. In the recent tornadoes, I don't know how many of you had friends or neighbors that were impacted by the F4 tornado that hit on December 26th in Rowlett and Garland. But how neat to think that wouldn't it be nice just to open your wallet and be able to make a generous donation to people who needed it when they needed it the most. In short, the darker the darkness, the brighter Ambit shines. I am ever impressed not only with the leadership of the company, but that Ambit has broken record after record, survived, and is on their way, as Brian McClure likes to say, to soon be the #1 network marketing company in the world. In these kinds of economic times, it really is stunning. It really is impressive. So lift up your hand and take courage. And remember this mantra, let my people go. You know what my number 2 why is? My number 1 why, I'll share this, is to provide a sustainable long-term living for my autistic son. And number 2 is to not be a financial burden on others, to always pay all my bills on time, to be a man of my word regarding financial integrity, and to help others do the same thing. So you fill in the blank, whatever it is. Brian McClure likes to say, you listen for the pain, find out what people really want and need, and then show them that Ambit is the vehicle of positive financial success that can get them from point A to point B. So anyway, some musings from a guy who drives around and listens to too much talk radio, as you can probably tell. But anyway, I just want to encourage you to hang on to what we have and look at it for what it is. It's something very precious that can change our lives and is changing countless lives. So with that said, I'm going to turn this back over to Richard. And guys, I really want to encourage you to lean on Richard. This 3x4 plan has been a blessing to me and the people that I have been able to help with it. And I like how simple it is. All you need is 3. Remember the mantra, all you need is 3. He has simplified with accountability the Ambit system in a way that makes it easy to replicate and duplicate. And once more, Richard, we all are very grateful to you. And we look forward to being on one of those 5-star trips with you and enjoying the fruits of our labor and the labors of our teams. So with that,
Thank
Richard,
you very much.
Still there?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, sure. I'm drinking
John,
my tea.
that was really, really good. I'm glad we're recording this call because I've been scribbling notes as fast as I can, and I get halfway through a sentence and then you say something else really good, and I started writing that. So I'm going to have to listen back to this call. That was extremely good information, very powerful, very eloquently put as well. It's very hard to portray information that is very numerical and very formulaic and very political and economical in such a way that is interesting to listen to and easy to understand. You did that admirably, my friend. Well done on that.
Well, thanks. The one about food steps really breaks my heart. This is America. This shouldn't be happening in America.
Unbelievable. And what I was planning to do was kind of just kind of summarize, not so much summarize, but just kind of hit on a couple of points that you went through. But I'm not going to do it justice. You did a fantastic job. The one thing that I got from it, you did say you were worried that you seemed to be the purveyor of doom and gloom, but I did not get that from the message. What I got from the message is you said, the darker the darkness, the brighter the light of Ambit shines. That, my friend, is, I don't know if you got that from anywhere else, but that is a fantastic quote, and I'm going to put that on the Facebook page because it is absolutely right on the money.
There you go. What I tell you. Told you it'd be a great call. Thank you again, John. A great call. Thank you for taking the time out to share some fantastic information with us. And how very comforting to know that during these dark and difficult economic times, we're in a recession-proof business that's killing it. We should really think ourselves lucky. Okay, well, if you enjoyed this message, do yourself and your team a favor. Make sure you share this information. Again, downline or crossline. This is great for everybody to know. And in the meantime, I appreciate your time listening to this. Thank you very much. And I will be sharing more information with you as time goes on. But for tonight, this is Richard Laidler saying good night.